it sounds like we're ready to go. Do you want to kick us off, Anna Marie, or do you want me to kick us off?
Okay, sure. I'm ready if you are. I'll go ahead. So good evening, everyone. I'm welcome to our special meeting of the Frankfort Plant Board. I'm Anna Marie Pavlik-Rosen, Chair of the Board. Walt Baldwin, Vice Chair, first position there. Don Hale, Secretary Treasurer. Steve Mason, Board Member. Jeff Bradshaw, Board Member. And also our attorney for the board, James Liebman. So do we have a motion to go into closed session?
Before you do, I just want to communicate with the body that from the last meeting, I received a lot of positive sentiment on the offer that I made. And I visited the reservoir yesterday and went inside of the reservoir and saw the many cracks in it. And it just really makes me feel stronger about the motion that I made the last time that we need to get a reservoir built.
Well, I'll move we go into closed session.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of going into closed session?
Aye. Move to go into closed session pursuant to KRS 618101C to discuss pending litigation regarding the reservoir.
Okay, so we're in open session. And Walt, do you have a motion?
I do. I'd like to move that we adopt the plan. And
excuse me, I was speaking before Walt when you asked me, when you asked us
I believe the
to.
chair has the meeting and she can assign it.
Right. So we'll proceed with Walt's motion,
So,
and then there'll be discussion afterwards.
thanks. So I'll read a prepared statement at the end. I'll have a motion. Earlier this year, we met with City Commission and spent many weeks working with representatives of TNAI in an attempt to find a way forward in the replacement of our aging reservoir. The goal was to meet the requirements of the water system while addressing TNAI's concern, but also upholding our fiduciary duty to our ratepayers. Unfortunately, after significant effort by TNAI representatives, FPB staff, and board members, a solution that TNAI could endorse was not reached. However, those efforts did result in identifying measures that materially improve the current FPB reservoir replacement design. By assembling the best elements of the design work done by FPB staff and the additional elements resulting from the working with Tanglewood Neighborhood Association, we have a fiscally responsible proposal that addresses the aesthetic concerns of the neighborhood, complies with the goals of the City of Frankfort's comprehensive plan, meets the needs of the water system, and is responsive to the safety concerns of FPB and the City of Frankfort EMS. The additional components of this plan include creating an earthen berm to cover the exposed sidewall of the new tank behind the head-in building. The berm will allow evergreen trees to be planted around the entirety of the new tank, which will obscure its view from the Tanglewood neighborhood in US 60. Some of the satellite dishes will be relocated on site to allow for the new berm. The aging water tower structure will be removed and replaced on site with a modern antenna structure. Additional evergreen trees will be planted along the fence line with Tanglewood neighborhood, which will provide a natural visual shield for the satellite dishes. And building on the existing 7 million gallon design work to meet system needs and complete reservoir replacement quickly to mitigate safety concerns. This new plan meets the operational requirements of the water system, addresses the issues raised in the planning and zoning review, as well as the safety concerns of the Frankfort Plant Board and the City of Frankfort EMS, and does so in a fiscally responsible way. With this compromise proposal, it's my hope that all parties concede a bit and the city fast-track their endorsement so that FPB can move forward with the replacement activities immediately and address safety issues in a timely manner. I move that we adopt the plan, direct staff to communicate the details to city staff, and urge Frankfort City Commission to hold a special meeting in the coming week or as soon as is practical to consider endorsing the new plan.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd have some comments. First of all, I really think this proposal is a real insult to the intelligence of the Tanglewood Association, the Frankfort City Commission, and board members here. Because we've seen this plan, it's dressed up a little bit, but we've seen this plan for the last year. But I do also have a few questions because as I read some of these components here, and I see the word we. Can you define who is we? Who is we in this statement? We have done this. Who is we? Is it all of us, or is it some of us? Who is we? Because I don't know, some of this I haven't talked about. The other thing is, and this is really questions directed to Gary, so I didn't mean to shock you there, but anyway. I want to understand the analysis that went into how much it's costing to do the earthen berm, to put the evergreen trees up. Who came up with those thoughts? The moving the tower, replacing it with a modern antenna structure. Who came up with those things? Additional evergreen trees around there. Who came up with those things? Is it the we? Who is the we? Because, and I'm asking staff that because I want to know the analysis that staff put into this, if any analysis. So I'm asking, who is we that came up with all of these different things, these components, added components to the 7 million gallon tank? Because at least me as a board member, I have not seen the evolution of this plan or the coming together of this plan until I sat down here, but yet I see we have done this. So who is we?
Well, does it matter? It's different people talking about it over a number of months.
But who is we? I mean, we are charged collectively with leading the plan board. But yet I see a plan, a pretty detailed plan, I assume it's been costed out, that I have not seen until 15, 20 minutes prior to the 5 o'clock meeting.
Except for when we discussed it in the June meeting.
I have not seen this plan up until 15 minutes before the 5 o'clock meeting, and it says we. So I'm asking, wait a minute.
We is you. We discussed all these items in the June meeting.
I have the floor. As you told, I have the floor. So I'm asking the staff, what analysis, if any, did you as staff put in to any of this? Because I still don't know who we are when it came up with all of this information.
Steve, I think there have been a number of informal discussions, and they've been referenced over the few months that we've been considering different ideas, and we don't have detailed costs. We have some rough ideas of what the benefits would be, what it would look like, and what it would cost. But we know it costs less than $500,000 for a dome to make something shorter.
But who is we?
We as staff, it's the city, it's the Tanglewood Neighborhood
Association. Who is we that came up with this particular plan? Who is we?
We as the newspaper, we as everyone in the community. Does it matter?
Well, I'm just going to say, I think, again, I'm going to repeat, I think this is an insult to all the folks, the Tanglewood City, some of the plan board directors. I think the 6.5 was the way to go. I think it at least moved the needle toward some conciliatory action. And
okay,
and wait a minute, let me finish, because one of the other things we talked about at the last meeting, there was a concern, was the capacity, the size of the reservoir tank as related to emergencies. And we heard, and I asked staff, and I was thinking of the difference between a 9.2 to 4.6 and a 6.5. How much difference was that going to make in case the Kentucky River was shut down and was not usable? How much more time, how much more water in a time dimensions would we have before we ran out of water? And they told us it was hours instead of days. We go through 7 million gallons of water a day. The tank holds, let's use a 7 million gallon tank. It's replenished daily. 6.5 gallon tank, it will be replenished daily. So if we lost water capacity, the water capacity is not materially impacted between 500,000 gallons of water. So, and if 6.5 gets us to a compromise, a concession with everybody that's interested in this project, then we owe it to ourselves and to the community to do that. Because as I went through the reservoir the other day, and I went into the reservoir and walked down on the floor of the reservoir, and there were cracks everywhere in it. There were metal supports holding up the concrete beams where it was shoring up the ceiling. So I don't understand why we can't. What the issue with doing the 6.5? It's not a material difference.
Steve, I think we got your point there. I've been in the reservoir too. Is there any other member who wants to make a comment?
Yes, please. I think we had positive response from the 6.5 million gallon tank proposal. I think that is different enough that everyone was willing to consider it. The City Commission was willing to consider it. The Tanglewood Neighborhood Association was willing to consider it. And it gave everybody an opportunity of doing something that hadn't already been voted down. It took the political pressure off the City Commission because the Tanglewood Neighborhood Association was willing to consider it. This puts the political pressure back on the City Commission, which they're not going to be happy with. We're not even willing to concede the 1/16 half dome roof, which is a major issue, which to me is a major component of what the Planning and Zoning Commission was talking about when they were talking about the size and the height of the tank. This doesn't address that. And so I think the likelihood of this having any traction with the City Commission is very slim. According to their statements in the State Journal, after Mr. Mason's motion in our last meeting, there were 3 favorable comments from both the mayor, Commissioner Tippett, and Commissioner Wisman. We are just blowing that by going back to them with a 7 million gallon tank with some trees and dirt around that doesn't address the size of the dome, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And so I think it is unrealistic to keep submitting the 7 million gallon tank when we have been told repeatedly by everyone involved that they do not agree with the 7 million gallon tank.
Okay, and Jeff, do you have any comment you'd like to make?
I do. I think that the first of all, some of the comments that we heard only came in after the board meeting and in the paper. We were not aware, at least I wasn't as a board member, was not aware that we had any sort of reception from City Commission, from Tanglewood Neighborhood Association. These concepts were not communicated to us, so we can see the comments that came in afterwards, but that didn't help us in our last vote. I would further say that I believe that just because it's the 7 million gallon tank doesn't mean that we should negate that. A lot of our board members, and prior to my participation on the board, we've had a lot of people that have done a lot of work, staff and board members, to address what was said by the Planning Commission, by the sight lines and the landscaping, and it certainly, most certainly does, I believe, address a lot of those concerns. It makes for a good plan. It makes for, it provides green space. It provides aesthetics that seemingly are desired by all the members, by the Tanglewood Neighborhood Association, by the City Commission. So I believe it is a solid proposal, and my feeling is that we haven't gone forward with this proposal. In addition, just because it's a 7 million gallon tank, what we're talking about here are items that will address a lot of these concerns, and we have not put this forth as of right now, and this is a measure by which we can do that.
Okay, so I think everyone's made comments on this. Walt has read the motion. We have a second. I think we're ready to vote. Kathy, could you please call by members?
Member Baldwin?
Yes.
Member Rosen?
Yes.
Member Hale?
No.
Member Mason?
No.
Member Bradshaw?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passed. Thank you, everyone, for your comments and ideas. And this motion suggests that we should submit this to the city and have the two staffs work together to understand all of the aspects and see if we can come to an agreement.
Thanks, Anne Marie. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor? All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.